The Roman Empire is usually remembered for courage, discipline, and unstoppable legions. But what truly kept Rome standing was not the sword, it was money, or more precisely, debt. Feeding thousands of soldiers, paying wages, producing weapons, building roads, constructing siege engines. None of this was free. Every war left behind an enormous financial cost. And Rome covered that cost not only through plunder, but through a financial system. In the beginning, Rome's army was made up of citizens. If you owned land, you served. You brought your own weapons and returned to your farm when the campaign ended. But as the Republic expanded, this system collapsed. Wars became longer. Fronts became distant. There were no more seasonal wars. That's when Rome transitioned to a professional army. Soldiers began receiving pay. It wasn't much, but it was enough to buy loyalty. The real turning point came here. War became a revenue model. Every new conquest meant new taxes, new slaves, new mines, new trade privileges. In other words, war financed more war. A self-reinforcing loop emerged. But there is a dangerous detail here. Rome did not run this system on taxes alone. It borrowed. During long and costly conflicts like the Punic Wars against Carthage, the state took massive loans from wealthy elites. These were not charitable donations. They were investments. And what did the lenders want in return? Interest, tax collection rights, monopoly privileges in newly conquered territories. War was profitable. And because it was profitable, more of it was required. Over time, generals gained power, senators became partners in war, and private companies, the publicani, collected taxes, managed logistics, and extracted fortunes from the population. In short, a military-industrial system wearing a toga emerged. But every system comes with a bill. As wars grew more expensive, the state searched for more revenue. When conquest slowed, things became harder, and Rome turned to the oldest trick in the book, devaluing the currency. Under Nero, the silver content of the denarius was reduced. Later, emperors turned this into a habit. The same coin was minted, but it was hollowed out. The result? Inflation, loss of trust, economic collapse. What did the wealthy do? They stored their wealth in land, slaves, and assets. They secured tax exemptions. They insulated themselves from the system. What did the poor do? They used devalued money. They paid higher taxes. They were conscripted. This was not just a military collapse. It was a monetary one. Now stop and look at today. Massive budget deficits. Wars financed through debt. Central banks printing money. A financial class growing rich from defense and crisis. Sound familiar? The U.S. war in Afghanistan cost over $2 trillion, most of it funded by debt. So who benefited? Who earned the interest? Who got the contracts? And who paid the bill? You already know the answer. Rome teaches us this. A system built on constant expansion eventually hits a wall. Conquests end, resources dry up, but debt remains. That's when the state begins squeezing its own people. Higher taxes, weaker currency, more control, and in between, bread and circuses. Today we use different terms: monetary policy, stimulus packages, quantitative easing, but the mechanics are very similar. That's why economic history matters, because these stories did not stay in the past. They are warning signs. You cannot fully opt out of the system, but you don't have to play it blindly either. Understanding is power. Seeing the pattern is an advantage. When a crisis emerges, ask this: who provides the money? Who profits? Who pays? Because history shows us this. Empires do not fall when gates are breached. They fall when the math stops working. And when no one dares to fix it, everything is already over.